Hey everybody, we are live from the fish room. But at this point there's no one in the video, well, at the live stream at the moment. So if you're watching this after this has been done, you're gonna have to wait a little bit because I figured I would do a live stream and chat with everyone. So I'm just waiting for peoples to come on in and have a chat. Hi little shrimpy buddies. Shrimpy buddies. Everybody's got some shrimp. A Bloody Mary, girls. There's two over there. Picking at stuff. There's another one over there. Doing as they do. So, how goes it, everybody? I see there's a few people in the live stream. Just moving around, doing as I do. This tank's pretty empty, but I am repopulating this tank with Dream Blue Velvets. There's a few babies in here, but they are currently hiding. There's one Dream Blue right there, but I should have gotten my tripod. Got my new RODI system over there. So that's been fun. Building that thing. '55's got a bunch of crayfish. Have to unplug the power source and go over to the crayfish for a minute. They are getting big. Actually, rotate device. I'm sorry, I just realized I was in portrait instead of landscape. Rotate device. Apparently, the orientation is locked for some reason. Okay. Apparently live stream settings have some fun filters. Oh, that's getting trippy. In a world where crayfish have taken over the world. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be playing with the filters, because that's just annoying. Anywho. Oh my goodness, the crayfish are getting so big. I gotta scrape the tank again. That's not even mama cray. That's a full-size crayfish. Mama cray's up here. A bunch of her crayfish babies are all growing up, except for a few of them. Hey, don't freak out at me, little guy. I feed you. So, the more interesting thing lately is that I have been using RODI water and remineralizing it for my shrimp buddies, because I'm getting new shrimp in soon. It's finally getting warm enough to where I can order more shrimp colors and start breeding them. So this is the vat that I keep it in, and then We got the RODI system over here, producing purified water. Oh, what to do, what to do. We're in the fish room. Everything's going pretty normal. I look like a mess, though. Oh, man. Just woke up, so my hair is crazy. Alright. We're not really talking about me, though. We're talking about the fish and shrimps. Well, actually, there's not much fish. The only fish I have now is Peaches the pleco over there. Most of that, I just got invertebrates now. Hey, how's it going? Now we're getting people in. Just in the fish room. Got a little bored. Thought, hey, why not have a live stream? Bunch of crayfish. Being crayfishy. Da 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 da. Shrimp are being shrimpy. Crayfish are being crayfishy. Snails are being snaily. Yep, I sell plenty of these guys. All depends on when buyers are available. Crayfish and shrimp, they're always for sale. I sell these little crayfish for, actually, sell the crayfish for $10. Little white specter crayfishies. They're good little crayfish, though. They're not too aggressive given the fact that they're crayfish. I'm in Illinois. Although when it gets closer to summer, I tend to ship. I couldn't ship much during the winter this year because all my heater packs are expired. And they weren't good enough to risk shipping anything. It was really bitterly cold here in the Midwest. Got a bunch of these little guys. Oh, look at the little baby shrimps. Yeah, these little guys are fun. Eating a bunch of nom-noms. Nope, I do not ship internationally. Over in Illinois. Sometimes I sell to some pet stores, but I prefer to sell to the public directly. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, you're not too far away. You're about like half an hour away. If you're in Naperville. Yeah, I prefer selling to the public directly because that way I can sell them for cheaper than what the pet stores will sell them for. That way you get to pick out the exact shrimp you want from the breeder tank. Because these are just the yellows right here. I've got some Bloody Mary red cherries. But these little girls are all females. They got a male coming in the mail. A male coming in the mail in about a week. So that way they can start breeding. And then over here, this tank has some Dream Blue Velvets, with the colonies being rebuilt in this particular tank. Where can I zoom in, camera? Zoom in. Yeah, for some reason the camera doesn't want to zoom. It's odd. But anywho, there's a bunch of Dream Blue Velvets in here, but they're really good at hiding for some reason. And in here is where I'm gonna have a bunch of pumpkin shrimp. I got some pumpkin shrimp coming in the mail. And over here is a dwarf crayfish tank. Hi, little buddy. The dwarf crayfish are quite shisty. That's not necessarily true. When it comes to shrimp, there's the myth that darker substrate will make the colors darker. And the idea behind that is because certain shrimps have color cells that can expand and contract. But when it comes to Neocaridina davidi, that's actually not the case. It really does come to just selectively breeding and their personal genetics. A lot of times you hear the myth that the substrate makes a difference, but from what I've seen from much larger operations than myself, it really doesn't appear to be the case. I thought that at one point too, and for certain shrimps it definitely is true, but not for your typical Neocaridina. Now for ghost shrimp, that is definitely true. Ghost shrimp, glass shrimp, whatever they're called in your area, they're typically pretty clear, but they have either blue or sometimes green color cells that they can expand and contract depending on the environment they're in, as like a natural sort of adaptive camouflage almost. Now, it's not going to make them like completely some sort of color. You just have a bunch of dots all over them. Do I have any fish? As a matter of fact, I do have one fish. I stopped breeding fish a while ago. I got Peaches, but he's a pleco, and plecos just tend to derp about until the lights go out. Then he comes out. Little guy never wants to come out and play and say hi. Now in this tank, I'm not sure what I'm going to breed in this tank. I've bred a lot of different things in this tank, but still deciding on what I want to do. I was going to turn this tank into the dwarf crayfish breeding tank, but dwarf crayfish are a bit more finicky than I thought. Now, they're not nearly as aggressive as those guys, but I actually did used to breed blue Moscow guppies in this tank. I had some really expensive blue Moscow guppies that I stopped breeding just because the guppy situation was getting a little annoying. They had huge dorsal fins, big flowing delta tails, a nice deep blue hue to them. But the problem with blue Moscow guppies is they take forever to refine their genetics. I had worked on them for a few years. Well, no, about a year and a half. And the amount of culling necessary was absurd in order to maintain those perfect genetics. And despite the fact that they're worth about like $40 in a trio, it just really wasn't financially worth the investment and the hassle that goes along with them. Because when you breed show quality guppies, their immune systems also tend to be much weaker than your typical guppy, simply because they are purposely inbred for selective breeding to isolate certain genetic factors that are particularly bound to their physical attributes. So they are fun and they are beautiful to look at, but unfortunately they're just so time-consuming to breed with very little in terms of, results. Yeah, guppies definitely are a huge favorite amongst a lot of freshwater aquarists, but man, they take forever to get just right. And if you want to buy a proper trio for breeding, they are so expensive. I had honestly thought maybe I would try breeding some guppies, some real red albino eye, red Moscow guppies. That a trio would have been like $120 for one male and two virgin females. But the problem is their immune systems are so horribly weak, and you got to have the heat on the heater so high in order to compensate for their weak immune systems. It just becomes to a point where keeping them alive and healthy and breeding and culling and selecting for particular genetics takes forever, and it's a huge financial investment and time investment to do it, that I just decided that I would rather focus on other things. And I'm trying to get into more interesting invertebrates. But what is the best type of shrimp for me? Well, I stick with Neocaridina davidi, which is a pretty popular shrimp. They're relatively hardy. They have beautiful color assortments, and they propagate pretty easily. Yeah, bloodworms were definitely a favorite of the guppies. I mean, here's the thing. Every fish loves bloodworms. And when it comes to bloodworms, I definitely fed well, because I get these big bottles. San Francisco Bay, by the way, I love their products. At least their bloodworms. I've only tried their bloodworms, but every time I've given a bloodworm to a fish from them, they've always gone crazy for it. I have some left over. This is my second bottle of San Francisco Bay. It's a huge bottle. It lasts a while. Because this used to be my wild fish tank. I would go to the lake and I would pluck out small little fish from the lake and just let them swim around in here. But after a while... Hikari is another great brand. I love Hikari. Their algae wafers are pretty good. But nowadays, I don't typically buy off-the-shelf foods for my invertebrates. I don't use Wardley. I haven't used San Francisco Bay ever since the smaller fish I've gotten rid of. What I have been buying is like privately manufactured foods, like from Aquatic Arts. This stuff right here, the invertebrate pellets, because these are made specially with, specific ingredients and a lot of vegetables and such that are geared specifically towards the health, growth, molting process, and color for little invertebrates like this. So there's certain diets you want to give them, and I've never stuck with like off-the-shelf stuff. Because off-the-shelf foods, you just can't get the quality ingredients that you can when you make your own food for the shrimps and crayfish versus just stuff that's packaged and mass-produced. So custom manufactured foods tend to do best. There you go. But I will say this, when it comes to crayfish, that guy just molted, you can tell he just molted. When it comes to crayfish, there is one food that is undeniably a favorite amongst every type of crayfish I've ever had. And that, my friend, are frozen sweet peas. I don't know why, but you could just go to Walmart, go in the freezer section, get $1's worth of frozen sweet peas, which is quite a bit. And I need to clean the algae off this tank again. But they go nuts for frozen sweet peas. I've had wild crayfish. I've had these little white specters. I've got the Mexican dwarf crayfish over there. they all go nuts for frozen sweet peas, which is great because it's fibrous and it has a decent bit of calcium inside of it, which is good. And it's super cheap. You just got to remember to keep them frozen. You don't want them spoiling before you feed them to them. So every day I would come down and feed them frozen sweet peas and they go crazy. Well, right now I just scrape off the algae from the top up here and they eat that too. Oh yeah, I used to when it comes to really quick. No, I'm not doing a giveaway. I'm just bored, so I thought I'd do a live stream. When a local pet store used to have a Diodon hystrix porcupine pufferfish. He was huge. He was like the size of that to the size of there. He's like the size of my entire arm. He was a huge crayfish, and oh my god, he was just so much fun. Every time I'd come in the store, I'd bring him a wild crayfish to eat, and he would go nuts. Oh, he was so much fun. He would see me, puffers, they're so intelligent. They recognize people they like. So every time he saw me, he would start flapping around and swimming like crazy because he knows I'm going to give him a nom-nom. Which is, normally he gets like brine shrimp, and he's okay with that. But when he gets live, fresh food, he goes nuts. Oh, it was so fun to watch him go crazy. Oh, he's like a little puppy. Or he was like a little puppy. He was 15 years old before he passed away, but yeah. 30 feet, that's a pretty good distance. And I can attest to that, actually, because I remember I was about that distance before Titan, the pufferfish. I've got a video of Titan, by the way. I don't know. Sometime you should check it out, just because people freak out over how large that pufferfish was, and how much of how interactive and friendly he was. He's literally he's got a situation where it's like you see him, and he just looks so happy and derpy that you just want to pet him. And people are like, "Why would you pet a pufferfish?" But I'm like, people actually have pet him before. Yeah, they go nuts. They start splashing water everywhere because they get so excited. And it is true. But the thing is, it is true. You can actually play with a pufferfish. They are so fun. And the owners at the pet store used to pet him and play with him with their hands all the time. He was such a good puffer. I'm really sad that he passed away, but he was getting old, and he enjoyed many nom-noms. He was like my spirit animal. He was just such a goofy little guy. I'll never forget Titan. Titan actually inspired me to get my own pufferfish. I had Poof for a while, my little pea puffer, to try and get rid of these gosh darn snails. Holy crud. I have got so many Malaysian trumpet snails, and I'm sick of them. Yeah, you know what I say? It's not a day with the fish unless you get drenched. That's what I say. Man, tell you what, if you want Malaysian trumpet snails, by golly, if you can get yourself over here, you can scoop out as many as you want and keep them for free. I hate Malaysian trumpet snails. I just can't stand them. They are everywhere. The aesthetics of the tank just get ruined. There's thousands of them in here. I always try and give them away. I post everywhere on Aqua Swap and yada yada. If you want to buy shrimp, you're welcome to buy shrimp. The only ones I have really available at the moment, though, are the neon yellow. I sell those for about $3 a pop, which is about the same price you can get them if you buy them online, but then you'd have to pay shipping and such. And then if I sell them to Aquarium Adventures, but then they turn around and sell them for about $15 each. But that's why I like selling directly to people, just because I can sell them for cheaper than what pet stores can do. And that way you can see the exact tank they come from, etc. But yeah, $3 a pop for those little guys. But yeah, as many snails as you want, please, for the love of all that is good and holy, someone take these godforsaken snails. And the thing is, I have assassin snails. Well, the thing is, I had gotten a pea puffer specifically for the snail situation. And my little pea puffer, little Poof, was such a good puffer. She did a great job of eating snails. But she passed away recently, and I've been really sad about that because I actually really liked little Poof. But she was getting old too. And she was my little tank hopper. Whenever I had a snail problem, I'd put her in one of the other tanks, and she always enjoyed the new environments. She was fun, though. She would swim around. She would come and say hi to me at the front of the tank every day. Great little guys. Well, the thing is, though, I do have assassin snails. I'm trying to find one right now. They're generally all over the place. Like right up here, I got assassin snails. And I had 60 assassin snails in here. 60 of them. And they did breed a little bit. But these stupid Malaysian trumpet snails outbreed what the assassins can eat. Because assassin snails eat about one snail and then hibernate for 2 days. And then they wake up and eat another snail. So that's why I got Poof, because I was told puffers love snails. And I thought, hey, I've got snails. I've got food. And Poof did a great job until she passed away. And then, I still got the snails. Then after she passed away, the snails started propagating to the point where they'd become an annoyance again. The thing is, this tank didn't always used to have Malaysian trumpet snails. I've had this 40 breeder for a very long time. And I only got Malaysian trumpet snails because when I was a novice aquarist, people had told me, oh, get Malaysian trumpet snails. They're good for your tank. They aerate the sand. And I'm like, okay. And then I got them and I hated them immediately. Well, yeah, pea puffers definitely have a preference. They prefer bladder snails. But if I remember correctly, pea puffers are one of the few puffers that don't actually have a beak. So their mouth is a little different compared to something like a porcupine, like a Diodon hystrix or a Diodon helocanthus. So they're slightly different than most. But she did go after them. I've got videos of her hunting snails, and she was such a good fish. The thing is, I just can't bring myself to get another puffer. It's just too soon. Interesting. I get a bunch of different information from different people all the time regarding puffers and such. But nevertheless, she was good at it, though. She would wait for the trumpet snail's foot to come out, and then she would attack right away. Oh, there you go. Guess you can't argue when you got scientific evidence right in front of you. Still, she would eat the Malaysian trumpet snails. She did a good job. Because the nice thing about MTS is their foot is huge when they're protruding out of the shell. So she would just analyze and attack. And that's one of the great things about puffers, is they are fun to watch attack. Because they're so analytical in nature when they hunt. They're the only fish that I know of that analyzes their prey before they eat them. They try and figure out the best method of attack. And when you watch them do it, it's just wonderful. But yeah, my little pea puffer was kind of an anomaly because she was very gentle. She would never harass any of the other fish that she was with. I had her with my blue Moscow guppies. And she would never attack the guppies. She would only eat the snails. I actually even had her with my shrimp. And believe it or not, she wouldn't bother the shrimp. She was so docile. So I was always comfortable with her because, and not every puffer is going to be like that. Even with pea puffers, their personality range is so diverse. I just happened to get lucky with a really gentle puffer. One day I'll get another puffer, but it's just still too soon. It happened a few months ago, but the memory of little poof. Some fish you just can't replace. And some people don't understand how special a fish can be sometimes. A lot of people will just put it to the side and say, oh, it's a fish, get over it. And I'm like, it's much more than a fish. I don't think many people understand how personal a fish can be. But yeah, dude, if you want Malaysian trumpet snails, please take them. I designed a tool in AutoCAD specifically for scooping out Malaysian trumpet snails. This is actually an old version. I need to get the newest version 3D printed. But this thing is my little snail scoop that I designed. And basically, since Malaysian trumpet snails hide underneath the sand, you scoop a ton of sand in and you wiggle it out. And the sand comes out, but the snails stay in because the little filter right here is big enough for sand to get through, but not enough for Malaysian trumpet snails to get through. Yeah, it's emotional when you lose a fish you really care about. A little poof. I remember my first fish that I bought when I was on my own. I had a little beta when I was first starting out, learning about aquariums. Looking back, I was such an idiot, considering, what I know now. Now I've got a bunch of different tanks and I know much more about it. I've got proper filters and I got the knowledge and all the stuff. But if I had known what I know now, I would have been much better with my beta. The beta fish was my first fish, and when he passed away, he always used to just sit around on top of the moss ball. So I buried him in a lake next to some moss in a little private waterfall when he passed away, and I just felt like it was necessary to give him a proper burial. But yeah, with this thing right here, getting back to the snails, I have such a Malaysian trumpet snail problem. I genuinely designed something to do about it. To do something about it. So, but this works pretty well. And this bottom part comes undone. Because, let me undo it here. It's been a while, so it might be stuck at the moment. There we are. This little thing collects them, and when all the sand is in here, you just shake it in the water, and the sand comes out, but the snails stay in. So, by all means, if you want a Malaysian trumpet snail, you can use the tools. I've also got, yeah, I learned 3D AutoCAD back when I was in high school, and it's finally come into use. But I've also got other methods. I got the more traditional scooper right here that I got from Colorcraft. You can use this too. You just scoop, shake it, and then you got snails. Takes a little longer though, because this is like maybe a few snails at a time versus that, which is like maybe a few dozen snails at a time. All depends on how you want to go about it, but seriously, please take these snails. Oh my gosh. I advertise everywhere I can to try and like local pickup. Free Malaysian trumpet snails. Now the stupid thing is, when I first started selling fish and shrimps and snails, Alright. When I first started selling stuff, I would sell Malaysian trumpet snails on eBay. And bladder snails. And it is crazy that people actually pay for these things. Because every pet store wants to get rid of them for free anyway. And yet people are paying me to buy and sell these things. And I have no problem selling them. But at the same time, I'm like, why are you buying them from me? This is dumb. Don't do that. But it's like always because they've got a puffer fish of their own and they need stock, or because someone on an aquarium forum said, get Malaysian trumpet snails, they'll aerate your sand. But to this day, I still recommend rabbit snails. Man, like I said, if you want them, you can have them. But rabbit snails are much better, in my opinion, for doing the same task that Malaysian trumpet snails do. The only difference is rabbit snails are big. They're fun to look at. They don't breed like mad. Plus, they're just cool. Or black devil spike snails, Phaeunus adder. Tylomelena is great, but Phaeunus adder or Phaeunus magma. I used to have a ton of mystery snails. I used to breed mystery snails and sell them too. I got so tired of snails though, because they're so easy to breed, they're so easy to sell, but at the same time, they're annoying to me. Just to get them ready and ship them out and everything takes a lot of time, because you got to sell in huge quantities at a particular time, and it just doesn't. It got boring. I just got bored with it. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And despite the fact I can go on eBay right now and sell 100 Malaysian trumpet snails for $15 and have like $10 shipping, and people would buy them all day, every day. I was just like, I'm tired of scooping out snails. It just got so tedious. Which is why I switched from breeding mystery snails and stuff like that to breeding shrimp. Shrimp are much more fun, in my opinion. But I used to have jade green mystery snails, which were really hard to find in this area. Jade green seems to be one of those colors that are just difficult to obtain in a solid color. You can find them striped, but I bred solid jade. And I knew the little trick on how to breed them to get them that way. And the little trick was you needed to start out with a male purple snail and a female yellow snail. And that would produce maybe 10% of the offspring would be green. And then you would breed those green ones together, and then more percentage of the offspring would be solid green. Yeah, shrimp are definitely profitable. Shrimp, like I said, I sell these guys to pet stores. I sell them online. I sell them in person. They do great for making money. Excuse me. But the thing is, you can't sell snails and such. Like, well, not maybe mystery snails you could sell. But you can't really sell, like, traditional snails like bladder, ram's horn, and Malaysian trumpet to pet stores, but people online definitely want them. Working on learning about shrimp. Shrimp are much easier than people give them credit for. When you're starting out, well, when a lot of people start out, they tend to have problems because they don't know what they're doing, but they're easy to work out most of the time. Like, I've got a big colony here. Actually, here's the thing. They were so easy. I used to just use straight well water, untreated and everything, and they would breed and live and everything and fine in that. And I had a colony of some low-grade cherry shrimp because they were my first, like, for-profit shrimp. Before that, I had ghost shrimp, and they were always fine with whatever. But when I had my first Neos, I would get cherry shrimp, and I would sell them all the time for like $1.50 each. And the thing is, they would breed so well that I could never, when I wanted to stop breeding cherries and do a different color, I couldn't get rid of them fast enough. I kept giving them away for free, and when I thought I was all out, I'd find like 5 more babies. And I'm like, I can't get rid of these shrimp. Eventually, I did get rid of all the shrimp, and then I was able to use that tank to breed Dream Blue Velvets, which I have in a tank upstairs at the moment. I'm starting them down here too. which the Dream Blue Velvets were much more profitable at like $3.50 each. Yeah, yeah, shrimp Neos are pretty hardy. People seem to like insist that they need super specific water parameters, but there's like with Neos, man, I've bred them in like 800 TDS, 8.4 pH, like 24-degree hardness, general hardness, like 12 degrees carbonite hardness. You know, water straight from my well. I got a private well with no treatment, just directly water, and they would breed just fine, and they would survive just fine. And people were always absolutely flabbergasted that they could even survive in that. And I'm like, dude, the golden rule, consistency is more important than accuracy. And I did a little experiment where I had a few different color morphs here, and I did a few different like setups in water parameters, a huge gamut of different parameters to show that it's true that consistency is more important than accuracy. Because then I had the straight hard water, then I had a mix of RO and hard water, and then remineralized RO, and just they were all doing fine. So that's the thing is, people are so insistent, and then when you present them with information that contradicts everything with proof, they have no idea what to say. And I'm just like, it worked for me. And, you know, there's a big debate about it. It always sparks a controversy, but, you know, what are you going to do? I just do what works. Although, because I want to start breeding much more sensitive shrimp, I do have my new 7-stage RODI system over there. And I do now use RODI with remineralized water as a standard now. And I'm only doing that because it's just easier to make a ton of it at once. And, you know, figured why not? I'll just switch them all over to RO water. Big whoop. So they're doing fine. But I want to start breeding some Cardinia, not Neos. And then I want to also start breeding crabs. I have intention of selling off my entire stock of white specter crayfish. And I'm going to use that tank to breed panther crabs, which I've never done before, but I'm up for the challenge, and I want to try something new and different and wacky. And I thought panther crabs would be so cool and so much fun to do. Because they're only recently been available in the general area. Yeah, the crayfish I sell for $10 each, but if you buy a bunch of them, I'd definitely give you a volume discount. If you buy like 3 or more, I could do like $8 each. Yeah, a lot of places sell these guys for twice that price, and I'm just like, there's no need for me to sell them at that price. My overhead isn't nearly as big as a pet store since I'm the breeder. So, I mean, if you're really interested, send me a personal message here on YouTube, or better yet, there's a contact email on my channel in my about page for business inquiries. If you really are just in Naperville, it's a short drive over to where I'm at, and we can work out a location and meetup time. And you can come in the room, you can sit down and we can chat, and you can look at all my stock that I have, and anything that's for sale, I'll gladly package them up for you. I'll give you to them in breather bags. I supply the bags and everything for transport. Well, it's nice to meet you, Jeff. Awesome, yeah. Well, I will definitely talk to you about that then, because I'm at the leg end, I'm at the latter end of the breeding for the white specters. So, but yeah, like I said, you can pick out the exact one you want. It doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, or if you want a breeding pair. I don't charge extra for breeding pairs. You just have to know how to sex them. which not hard to do. You just got to look on the underbelly on these guys. But yeah, pretty much everything is a relatively reasonable price, and yeah, should be fun. But anywho, I have to end the live stream now. That being said, good talking to you, and hopefully I will speak to you later via email. So, that being said, I am out of here because I got to talk to some friends who are messaging me. No problem. See you soon.